Everyone is getting their eligibility, except apparently if you play for the Utah Utes. We're going to tell you what's going on, how the latest NCAA rules affect the Utes on today's Locked On Utes.
You are Locked On Utes, your daily podcast on the Utah Utes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for making Locked On Utes your first listen and view of the day. I'm JT Wistrcill, and today's show is brought to you by our great friends at FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting homer this MLB season. On today's show, Isaac Shade of Locked On College Basketball and Locked On Tar Heels is going to join me in segments 2 and 3, talking about all the craziness with the Noam Yaacov stuff. I mean, I still can't believe he was ineligible, and that's what we'll talk about some of that here in the first segment, but also just talking about big picture, what's going on right now in the NCAA and how does it affect the Utes? Because it's madness right now. I mean, what is going on with eligibility and everything and the rules that are being passed, and the Utes are already being affected by it. I mean, number one, the fact that Noam Yaacov is ineligible, a 21-year-old who, yes, he played pro overseas, but all these other guys are gaining NCAA eligibility. There's rumors out there that are circulating. We'll talk more about those in the second segment as to why he may not be. There's been no actual reporting, though, on why he can't be. But it's just really unfortunate that a guy I believe was going to be Utah's best men's basketball player wasn't deemed eligible. And it just really hurts this team, this program, especially when you have guys like Jackson Kohler at BYU get eligible, and so many other guys are getting all their eligibility. And the Utes are the ones getting penalized. And the Utes, I should say, Jackson Kohler is eligible for now. All of the Summer League guys are also in trouble. The NCAA Big 12, everyone's kind of trying to work to pass these rules about, hey, if you've played pro, you can't go, or signed contracts with pro, you can't go back to college. That it puts a very gray area, though, on the NBA Summer League thing. I mean, we saw last year Baylor and Alabama tried to bring back former pros to their team, and now we're looking at a situation here where the Utes we're trying to bring back Trey Campbell in addition to Yaacov, and that's just doesn't look like it's going to happen as of right now. Or Campbell, is still a chance it could happen with him, I should say. We just know Yaakov's moved. We know the fact that he said they tried the appeal, it didn't work. Everyone's moving on. That's what's been said by the athletic department. But Trey Campbell is the guy they got in replacement for him. He's a fifth-year guy. They could put a stop to all the guys who signed pro contracts, which he signed a Summer League contract. Does Summer League count as a pro contract? That's where the up in the air and the gray area right now. But it's just really unfortunate that a lot of this stuff is happening, and it hurts the Utes, especially basketball. Football, they should be okay. However, if Utah matches up with LSU, that will be interesting to see. I think that's what the hard part of all this is, though. Like, LSU football has added a ton of former players who, some of them, most of the guys actually signed like NFL contracts of some sort, at least undrafted deals. And I don't think any of them were drafted, but they're all in training camp, and now they're going to LSU. So it's like that's happening. These guys sign contract. They're in training camps. They're leaving training camp to come to LSU. Most of these guys are. And we can't bring in Noam Yaacov, who hasn't even played a college basketball game yet. That's where it's incredibly frustrating, and it's unfortunate. And I mean, if Utah has a great year and make the playoff, and then we're losing to LSU because they've added some former NFL guys, that's also just going to sting, obviously, right? I mean, there's a long way to go before that would happen, but there's a lot of people that are doing it, making it happen with the fifth-year guys, and I like the idea of what the fifth year represents, the fact that, like, hey, it's basically the same as just instead of red shirting, hey, we'll just give everyone fifth year. I'm okay with that. It just sucks the timing of all of this, right? The fact that this broke in August, so now all these guys are trying to be like, well, I could have made more NIL money staying in college if that was an option for me in the first place. So I'm going to come back down. I just hate the timing of it. And really, it's only going to hurt the Utes as of right now, what I can see, right? Like, yes, fifth year wise, next year, they'll have some guys on this year's team that I think Devin Dampier's a guy we've spoken about before on this show. He will have an extra year of eligibility with this fifth year thing. Right now, he wants to go to the NFL. He said that to, I think it was Max Olson of ESPN. So we'll see what this season holds for him. But there are ways this fifth year thing will benefit the Utes. But right now, it's just hurting them. And that's really unfortunate with what's going on, that you have Utah trying to bounce back in basketball in a big way. And you're going to have Noam Yaacov, and then he can't come on. And you got Trey Campbell in a replacement, and his eligibility is called into question. And I know it'll hurt BYU a little bit, but the Noam thing taking as long as it did really hurt because, look, I don't know NIL ins and outs and everything exactly in terms of who's getting what. To me, Noam was going to be the best player on this Utah men's basketball roster. I have a hard time believing he wasn't going to be their biggest NIL earner. So the fact that you put that money in him and he doesn't end up playing with you, it hurts. As I said, there's a chance that Utah didn't pour a ton into him, but just based on what I turn on the tape and watch and the reason that he was almost drafted to the NBA, I have a hard time believing he didn't cost anything. So, yeah, and there's so many wild NCAA eligibility cases out there. Obviously, Flynn Scott, I believe is how you say his last name, was officially added to the men's basketball team. I am excited about him. He averaged 17 a game. I think he's going to be really good. So that's an overseas guy that is able to play for the Utes coming over from Austria, but so many guys that can't. And I am glad that Morgan Scally, for the most part, didn't bring anyone back. When I say I'm glad for the most part, like I would have been good if they brought back Naquari Rogers. I was okay with that. Morgan Scally said I actually asked the question, even when I was at the media days not too long ago, hey, are you good or are you going to add anyone? And they said, we're good right now. And you could tell, like, I think that they decided, hey, we got the guys in the running back room we like. But I do feel for Naquari Rogers, who at the very least would have either stayed with Utah or could have transferred somewhere decently had all this stuff been passed earlier. So that's why I feel for the athletes at the same time. That's what makes this such a tough and difficult conundrum and thing. The timing of it is terrible. And then you get Utah getting penalized with certain things and some schools not getting penalized and bringing guys back. I think LSU basketball has like 4 eligible guys right now. Like, it's absolutely crazy, all the stuff that is going on at the moment. So, yeah, wild times across college basketball at the moment and college sports. I mean, there's so many of these guys, the fifth-year guys. I like what Utah has done once again, football. Like, if you were going to bring back Naquari, to me, it's a little different. I understand why they chose not to, because you got Steven Chavez Soto, Wayshawn Parker, Matakai Halu is a guy we've heard getting a lot of buzz to. Daniel Bray should have a big role with this team. I feel like Utah's good at the running back spot. But if you had brought in, some guys are bringing back these fifth-year guys, and I think it'll throw things off in the locker room because guys could be like, you don't have that faith, you don't have that trust in me, you're going to bring in another starter. And it's one thing to do that during the transfer portal window. I think everyone kind of understands we're bringing in a guy to compete. But if you had a guy this late in the game, it just makes it interesting. Texas Tech's trying to add Tommy Castellanos, the former Florida State quarterback, as a nice backup insurance policy. Weird. And another one that could very much have an effect on Utah. If those two teams collide in the Big 12 title game and something happens with the starter's going to be Will Hammond there, but Castellanos could end up being a guy there. So how does that end up shaping out, affecting everything? Just another area I'm very interested to see, watch, and monitor, because I don't love that he's coming back. But once again, the 50-year thing, like, had this just been a thing last January, all these guys would have been coming back. So I really do see both sides. It just makes it a mess right now. Thankfully, this should be the only time we have to deal with this mess, because next year, of course, everyone knows, hey, where you stand 50-year eligibility wise. And yes, maybe guys will fight for medicals and stuff, and maybe there'll be something past there. It'll never be fully settled, but at least we should be making more progress from there. But especially in the case of Yaacov, and we'll talk about it more with Isaac Shade here in a moment, I am just frustrated how this hurts the Utes. I really just feel like it's just unfortunate, because he was a real ceiling raiser for them for basketball. And if they take Trey Campbell too, yes, like, that'll hurt everyone else that added Summer League guys. But Utah men's basketball is just in a tough spot right now, in my opinion. And football, I think they made the right decision not to add anyone and throw things off in the locker room. Like I said, would have been okay with Naquari, but understand why they chose the direction they did. So going to be weird to see all these late 50-year additions. I don't think all the LSU additions are going to stand either. But yeah, a lot of chaos going on across the NCAA landscape, and it's just interesting to see how it's been affecting the Utes, including Noam Yaacov, who we're going to spend the rest of this show talking about, and also close on just what's the state of the current men's basketball program, how they'll recover, all that and more coming up next on Locked On Utes. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. When workplace chaos hits and you need the right hire, Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you connect employers with candidates who match specific needs, life skills, certifications, and locations. So less time gets spent searching and more time gets spent finding the right fit. People are finding quality hires on Indeed right now. In fact, in the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. Usually the biggest difference isn't someone doing more work. It's having somebody who knows exactly what needs to happen, and everything runs smoothly when you have someone running a business. And that's why you need Indeed Sponsored Jobs, to make sure you get the right people in the right position so they can help you and your company make the right steps and next moves so you can continue to grow. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing the candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listen to the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is the job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Now, please enjoy my conversation with Locked On College Basketball's Isaac Shade.
It's great to be joined today on Locked On College Basketball by the man, the host of Locked On Utes, who recently moved back to the great Utah State, Mr. JT Wistrcill. If you're not already following Locked On Utes and sticking in on all his great content, especially as we get into football season here. I know we're a college basketball show, but interested to see how the Utes are in the first post brand new coach era, and so that's going to be fun. But the big news here, Noam Yaacov suddenly ineligible. We all thought he was going to be great, lead this Utah backcourt, but man, JT, this is bummer news. Catch us up to speed. What's going on? Is there any hope of him getting eligibility back?
There is not. And this is when I got I was shocked by this, and I think everyone was shocked by this. And, you know, with international prospects, it's always an interesting thing with the eligibility sometimes. And honestly, with the current state of college sports, eligibility is a fascinating subject right now in general. But, you know, this is something they announced that he was, or excuse me, it was announced a long time ago that he signed and all the things of that nature was going to be coming aboard. And then super late, we find out the NCAA deemed him ineligible. Utah has already appealed. They did that last Thursday, and it was denied. They put all that out in a statement. When I got the notification that he was not going to be able to play, it was as devastated as I've been about Utah athletics since the loss to BYU in football last year. Our basketball season went off the rails early on. I knew we were going to lose to BYU a couple times on the hardwood, but I was that devastated by this. I felt like this is a guy, we'll talk about him more in a second. He was a ceiling raiser for this program more than anyone else on the roster. He was nearly drafted to the NBA. Isaac, I thought this was going to be the best player the Utes have had in a decade. And the fact that he's ineligible stings beyond belief for this program. But to your question, he will not be joining the team for sure. He's already looking to pursue other opportunities. He's going to be in the NBA at this time next year. And the fact that we still won't have a Ute drafted, been 11 years since a Utah men's basketball player has been drafted. That would have come to an end with him. That's once again, this just really hurts.
Bogut, was he the last one?
It was Kuz, actually, Kyle Kuzma.
Oh, of course. Yeah, duh.
Yeah, Yaacov. We had Podol, DeLon Wright, Kuz, great run.
That's right.
Crickets since. Absolute crickets.
Dude, that's crazy to me as a kid who grew up in the 90s and all the Majerus teams. And man, we got to get Utah basketball rolling. This is really frustrating news, JT, especially as it seems like the NCAA is so consistently inconsistent. That's the only consistency there is. And so while all these other people are seemingly getting eligible, why, like, I know it sounds like Utah's been kind of tight-lipped on this, but are there any rumors as to why? Because it seems inequitable to me.
The only thing I can seem to even find rumor-wise right now is it's something to do with academics. And that is very much a rumor, but it's the only noise I've heard. And I will say, it was actually put out by Brandon Ramsey, who does cover Kentucky sports radio out there, Preps Hoop Indiana. He said he heard it was an academic issue, and I've heard other things of that nature too. And that makes sense because Noam is 21 years old. So this isn't like, hey, here's a 30-year-old trying to play college basketball for the first time. He's been playing pro overseas for a little bit now. But for whatever reason, as I said, maybe it really is the academic thing because it seems weird. And I mean, I know for a fact Utah tried really hard to make this happen, obviously. They knew how good this guy was. Like, this was the guy, in my opinion, of their transfer portal class. And if I can come to that conclusion when I flip on the film, I got to believe the staff did as well. So I know they tried hard to get and make him eligible. It's just not going to happen. And it just is, it really hurts. When you won 3 Power 4 basketball games last year, Isaac, and you lose a guy like this, it just really stings, especially when the rest of the portal class is not outstanding, and that's probably even putting it nicely.
And I want to get to the rest of that portal class here in a second, but so I think you're right. I think it can't just be straight up age because with 5 and 5 happening, with other internationals getting eligible to play and cleared, it would seem to make sense that up until you're 23, those 5 years from when you start or when you're 19, that he's good age-wise. So, yeah, it's got to be something else. I'm really curious to hear eventually what that is. But it's wild that there seems to be no recourse, that it's done, and now we got to move on. Like, that's wild. I hate that for Coach Jensen and the staff. I know they got to be grieving it. But you mentioned it, JT. What, like the rest of the roster, the rest of the portal class, what does this now mean? Because it means that everyone has to shift up a spot on the bus, as it were, in the depth chart. So what does it mean now for the rest of the roster?
I felt like with Noam leading the charge, and he's a guy who makes everyone better too. I mean, he's great with the ball in his hands. He can shoot. He can hit the big shots. Distributes well in transition. Can score at the hoop. Nice handle. It makes the entire team worse. And I genuinely felt like any hope of Utah escaping the Big 12's basement, that being the bottom four of the conference standings, rested on his shoulders. Could this group surprise me? Of course, it's always possible. But when we look at the rest of what they added, Trey Campbell comes in from Northern Iowa. He spent 4 years there, actually helped them make the NCAA tournament, averaging 13 a game last year, modest. How does that project to P4? I was questioning anyways, but he did sign an NBA Summer League deal with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So his eligibility even still in question right now. That could be a double hit to the backcourt, which would be massive too. They did add a guy in Flynn Scott, I believe is how you say his last name. He's a center from Austria, 6'9". He did average 17, 13, 2.5, and a block in Austria's 2 FIBA World Cup qualifier games this past summer. So that's something. He actually might end up being the team's best player, but not a great athlete, pretty good down low, but also not the biggest. I mean, we know the size that Arizona and some of the other teams in this league have to deal with, and our tallest guy is going to be 6'9". And our problem last year was size too, so it's concerning. You got Babacar Faye at center, and that's the guy who missed all of last season with an ACL injury. What does he look like coming back? You got Chapman from Ohio State. He averaged 4 points a game, maybe 6 last year. Was definitely not high, and he did not start for a Buckeyes team. No, they made the tournament, but still, outside of that, Jackson Holcomb comes over from UVU. I like the way he defends. He averaged 16 a game, but he's not much of an outside shooter. So once again, how does that translate to the next level? TJ Birch was the Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year. That's good. Where's the scoring coming from? We lost Terrence Brown, as you know very well, with what you do with Locked On UNC. We also lost our other guard. Our backcourt last year combined for nearly 50% of our scoring. And yes, teams turn over transfer portal scoring all the time. But where's the replacement for that scoring and that production coming from? I have big questions about that. I'm concerned about this running Utes roster entering what is arguably still the best college basketball conference in the Big 12.
Yeah, man, JT. And so specific to the backcourt, then you lose all that backcourt.
Yeah.
And then Yaacov is out now and, up in the air with Campbell. And so where does Coach Jensen turn in terms of because did you project them to be the starting 1 and 2 if they're eligible?
I honestly was leaning that way. I think it was a question, Chapman and Birch coming over too. Those were the original guys, I thought, because Campbell was a late addition. And it sounds like it's been reported that Campbell was actually really started to become an option when Yaakov's eligibility started to come in question. But once they added him, I felt like that was going to be their starting backcourt. And maybe it wasn't going to be on Campbell. He was in competition there. But now the fact that we know no Yaacov and the fact that Campbell as well could be out, it's very concerning for this team.
So Birch is probably then going to be in one of those starting backcourt spots at the 1 or the 2. Who do you project right? Let's say Campbell's out. Who would you project to start in the backcourt with Birch right now?
Yeah, I'd predict Chapman from Ohio State. I mean, a 6'4" junior guard. He was a really good high school product coming out. He suffered injuries throughout his career. And, I love that he was really good in high school, but high school was a long time ago for a reason. He had scored 14 points last year at Wisconsin. He just did not have huge games, didn't have huge stat numbers. This will be his 4th year in college. He's going to be a junior this upcoming year. Almost said redshirt, still getting used to that not being a thing anymore, by the way.
Weird.
But it's very weird. But he'll be a junior eligibility-wise, or I guess a 4th year, and then he'll have his 5th year after this too. But he's probably the guy. As I said, I think he scored over 10 a handful of times. He was a good bench option for Ohio State. How does he do starting in one of the most competitive conferences with a loaded backcourt? And Isaac, also, Utah doesn't have a great home court advantage either. So it's not like Utah football is feared when people come in there. No one is feared coming in to play at the John M. Huntsman Center. I wish I was wrong about that. But as someone who's been to a number of Utah basketball games, they don't pack it out. In fact, oftentimes they have curtains up top they have to close because it's not full enough of fans. And it's just unfortunate. So Chapman's the guy right now. And, hey, I think he defends okay. I think he can shoot okay. I think he can play make and do a lot of things okay and fine. How does that project to him being a starter? I know what he can be on his best day. I saw that a couple times with Ohio State. What does that look like as a starter when there's more on your plate and it's not, you're not playing great right here, so we could just pull you out? He has to be the guy. And I know he's coming off the 2 years removed from the injury, so maybe he's ready to be that former 4-star that he was, but I have major questions if he's going to be that. And Birch as well. He good defensively. How's he going to score at the Power 4 level? The scoring is a major question for this Utah team. I think they're better defensively. I think they'll move the ball better this year. But who's going to consistently hit shots and score for this team? I think Scott, as I said, is the best guess, but even he at 6'9", how is he scoring the post against some of the bigger guys in this conference? Major questions this Utah men's basketball roster has to answer. We'll probably get into it eventually, but their non-conference schedule does set them up for a lot of success. I will say that.
Well, JT, that's exactly where we want to go, right? Like, what does year 2 under Alex Jensen look like, and how might that non-conference schedule help things go a little bit better this year than last year's 10-22? We'll talk about that coming up here in just a second. Right after JT and I tell you all about FanDuel. Hey, baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with daily dingers. It's easy to play. You just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. And if you're right, you're going to get a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra winnings. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the MLB season. Daily dingers, another fun way to always stay engaged with the game. JT, I'm a big Braves fan. Grew up in Atlanta. So for me right now, the guy is Matt Olson. He's on one, hitting all these bombs. And so that's who I'm going with for my daily dingers pick. You got any prospects for daily dingers?
I mean, Ohtani's never a guy. That's a bad one to look to, I'd say, right? Yeah, I'm a Twins fan, so their offense isn't quite as consistent as some of these other teams we're going to talk about, but I'm always looking to see what my Twins are going to do.
I love that. Although it hurts me because the Twins beat the Braves in the 91 World Series. Not that I'm holding on to that.
We still hold on to that as our lone championship in Minnesota.
You absolutely should. Freaking Kirby Puckett. Anyway, if you guys want to get in on this, join the action at FanDuel.com. Again, FanDuel.com to play daily dingers. Make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. JT Wistrcill, Isaac Shade here with you on a Thursday. We're talking Utah basketball. And look, JT, last year, the first year of the Alex Jensen era, and it started off hot, little 5-0 run there, but then things went downhill, just 5 more wins the rest of the way. As we start to look at year 2 for Alex Jensen, we'll get into that softer non-con here in a second. But what are just your hopes or expectations to at least maybe take some steps forward here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of them rested on Yaakov's shoulders. Do I think this team has other? It really did. I wrote a story that said Noam Yaacov is here to save Utah basketball. I genuinely believe. I thought he was that much of a floor to ceiling raiser. So the hopes for getting better. Can you still find it there with a team that's more bought in defensively? I mean, last year, Utah struck out big in the offseason with Ja'Kai Howard, the former Auburn player who punched his team out on a plane. They tried to bring him in. Elijah Chopper-Moore. Those are 2 former 4 and 5 stars. They both were off the team and didn't even finish the season there. So Utah struck out a lot with some of those big names this year. More under the radar guys, solid guys. Some of them, too, as mentioned, like Jackson Holcomb's not as big of a name as those other guys I mentioned from Utah Valley. Averaged 16 points on the WAC's #1 men's basketball team in the regular season last year. He's good. He should be good for this team. Should be solid. I really do believe they're better defensively. That's where, Terrence Brown was incredible at scoring the ball, and they're going to miss him on offense. They won't miss him a ton on defense because unlike UNC, I think, and #1, maybe he'll buy in even more because he's with a winning team and winning culture, but there's more pieces and defenders in place to help cover out some of his size deficiencies and warts. Utah didn't have that. And I think for Utah, you look at this team, you're like, okay, you're better defensively. You're going to move the ball better. And when you do move the ball better, sometimes there is hope for you being better. It's just the problem, as we mentioned in the last segment. When you pass the ball to the guy in the corner, can he hit the shot consistently? That's major question marks for this Utah team where I'm at right now. I struggle to know for sure who their best 3-point shooter is. I think they are massive questions there too. There's other guys that can emerge. There's always surprises. That's what you hope for. But on paper, this roster does not inspire a lot of confidence to, as I said in the last segment, escape the basement of the Big 12. Could they be the let's see, we got 16 teams. So could they be the 14th best team in this conference? I think it's possible. Absolutely. Are they going to be 12th or 11th? That would take a lot. I think Alex Jensen's a very good coach, but Utah has struggled to build this roster in an effective way to compete in the Big 12, which is challenging to do. But once again, they lost to Cal Poly last year, and they won 3 Power 4 games. That shows you what a long year it was for the Utes. And I think this year could be a little better, Isaac. How much better? I'm not super confident in that.
Take that, TCU in West Virginia, because those were the 2 Big 12 wins. So, JT, one of the things I love that Utah's taken advantage of is the opportunity to have 3 public preseason exhibition games now. UNLV, a little Josh Pastner action. That's going to be at the Thomas and Mack Center. I love them going on the road for that. Nevada, and of course, Oregon too in Salt Lake City. That's going to be really cool. They're at the Huntsman Center welcoming the Ducks. Quack, quack, quack. Thank you very much. Coming. And so you look at that, and at least, those 3 games, I know some of the non-conference schedules kind of iffy, but I like those to help start and kind of start to figure out what we got there, JT. How do you make sense of those exhibition games?
I think the exhibition games, I'm good with those. I'm okay. I actually, because of the schedule, I actually wish they were playing at Oregon. You're probably more likely to lose that game. But I think there's something to be said about having to go into another Power 4 team's house and winning there at some point in the non-conference. We're going to talk about that. Utah's chosen not to do that. I think they're trying to secure as many wins as possible in this first portion of the year before a really challenging slate of Big 12 play. But I think, UNLV, Nevada will be good opportunities for them to get some road experience, build some confidence momentum there. And hey, I think if you're Utah, even though you don't have a great home court advantage, your best bet to win these Big 12 games is still going to be in your building. So get an Oregon coming in there and hope you can knock them off. I'm curious to see how the Ducks bounce back. I know they had a rough year last year. How are you feeling about them this year, Isaac?
I do not think they will. I think a big part of it was the injury to Jackson Shellstad, and it just didn't allow Nate Biddle to be everything he needed to be. And so I just think it was a struggle. Yes, they've gotten in some good transfers. I think Oregon, I don't project them to be like world beaters in the Big Ten this year, but I do think they will be better. Although they were going to sit in the long shadow of the Oregon football team because the Ducks are going to be great on the gridiron this year. And so, but yeah, we'll see what happens with that. And so then JT, looking at it, obviously we've got the Charleston Classic in the weekend leading into Thanksgiving week. But outside of that, the only 2 power conference teams on the schedule right now are Washington and Cal. And interestingly, as you said, those are both at home. So are you of the mind that it would be better for the Utes to go on the road for at least one of those?
Absolutely. I think it's just better to build and test yourself with that type of adversity before you have the gauntlet of Big 12 play. They went to Washington last year, so I understand why the Huskies are coming to us. I wish we were going to Cal in this circumstance. And Cal was good last year. Mark Madsen's doing a great job there. So that'll be a tough game for this team to win as well, too. But look, they played a lot of cupcakes last year. They didn't actually dominate those cupcakes, I will say, either. It was a lot of close games. We already mentioned the Cal Poly overtime to beat Weber State. Needed Terrence Brown to actually hit a huge shot in that game in order to get out without an upset too. So I feel like that is really what Utah is trying to do here, is get those wins. You mentioned the Charleston Classic. That's the only time they leave campus in the month of November and December. I mean, Isaac, I'm generally just curious for you. How many teams are doing something like what Utah is doing, where they're this little, they're leaving campus? I don't agree with it, but I am curious how many other teams you've seen do something like this.
From what I've seen, and I'm really just on the front end of starting to gather everyone's non-con schedule, but I feel like the majority of teams, even if they're not playing true road games, are getting a bunch of neutral site games.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for Utah, with it only being heading east to Charleston, outside of UCLA, where Mick Cronin did not leave the Pacific time zone last year in non-con schedule. I think what Utah is doing here is the exception rather than the rule. Although a lot of Big 12 school, like Iowa State, pretty famously, Coach Otzelberger regularly schedules a porous non-con schedule because of the Big 12 slate. And so I get it for Coach Jensen and staff, because as you said, it's like, where do the wins come from in Big 12 play? So let's get what we can in the non-con portion. So I understand it.
I think it's just tough, though, too. I mean, this is where, look, I went to Utah, things of that nature. I want to see my team be challenged and compete. Yeah. I don't want to watch a bunch of wins they bought. And the question is, will they even win those games? As we said, they should. They lost to Cal Poly last year. So these definitely could be losses in here, too, for Utah. I feel like in some ways we'll look at this team and be like, oh, they got some people will look at this team and go, oh, they're getting wins. They might be better this year. And could they be a little better? Yes, but we will have no idea how good this team is until Big 12 play gets underway. Like, hey, if they upset a Cal, that'd be awesome. If they can beat Washington, that's great too. But we still won't know how good this team is because they don't play back-to-back Power 4 games outside of that Charleston Classic. It's the one exception. But you don't play back-to-back tough games, and the road adversity is a huge thing. This team really struggled on the road last year. They got that. It was the one win at West Virginia, I want to say, but man,
that's correct.
Not not testing yourself at all, I just think is a massive mistake. And as I mentioned too, just as someone who's going to be at these games and covering it too, like I want to watch Utah be challenged, and maybe in some ways these will turn into a challenge. But right now it just feels like they're scheduling a bunch of wins, lulling fans into a false sense of hope for the ceiling of this team. And I don't like that. That's where I'm very disappointed that this is the way they've chosen to go with their schedule. Just even one or two tougher games, go on the road. Like the December slate after Cal is crazy. And like you even get Air Force at the end of the month. It's just a bunch of not very good basketball programs as you try to get wins. So it looks better at the schedule at the end of the year. But when we understand the context, does it really look better? That's how I feel about it.
And I know, members of the NCAA selection committee look well beyond just the wins and losses at who those teams are and the quads and stuff. I don't know if you have any influence over that committee room, JT, but no,
I don't know if I'll be able to convince them there's a lot of quad one wins on this schedule early on, Isaac.
Oh man, the joke for the inside joke here is JT's dad Tom is on the selection committee, and so we're gonna see if we can slide him some dollar bills to get Utah in the back end of this tournament. All right, JT, I'm so grateful for your time, man. Everybody, as we said earlier, please make sure you go check out all his great work on Locked On Utes. We're gonna see how year 2 is for Alex Jensen, but no, the answer is no Noam Yaacov.
Yeah.
All right, JT. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you, man.